In today's world, where the shadows of wars spread and world leaders compete relentlessly for power, ancient prophecies about the Antichrist gain new relevance. Every day, we find ourselves immersed in a reality where chaos and uncertainty intertwine, and prominent figures emerge, promising solutions to humanity's problems. But who are these individuals who, according to sacred scriptures, might embody absolute evil and deception? Are they among us, disguised as heroes, rulers, or influencers? As we move towards the future, questions accumulate, and answers seem more elusive than ever. The Bible, in texts like the Book of Revelation and John's letters, warns us about the coming of a being who would bring destruction and deception to the world, a charismatic leader who would deceive the nations and position himself against God. This being, known as the Antichrist, would be responsible for uniting the world under a false peace, only to later reveal his true nature. But how can we identify who might be this Antichrist today? Could he be a powerful politician, a charismatic religious leader, or perhaps someone we have not yet suspected? Current times provide fertile ground for speculation. International tensions, with escalating conflicts and the constant threat of new wars, create the perfect environment for the emergence of a savior. Powerful leaders like Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and even Western figures such as Donald Trump and Emmanuel Macron have been pointed out by some theorists as potential candidates for the title of Antichrist due to their global influence and the way they shape world events. In addition to political leaders, recent Olympics and other global events attracting billions of people have also become the focus of conspiracy theories. For some, these grand spectacles are not merely sports competitions, but rather disguised rituals where the global elite celebrates their hidden agenda. Could the opening and closing ceremonies of these grand events be a way to prepare humanity for the arrival of the Antichrist? The imagery and symbolism used in these events often evoke ancient and esoteric references, leaving room for questions and assumptions. But the Antichrist doesn't necessarily have to be a figure of political power. Scriptures warn us that he will be someone who deceives many, including the elect, suggesting a level of persuasion and manipulation without precedent. In an increasingly connected and technology-dependent world, could we be looking at the rise of a digital leader? Gigantic tech companies like Apple, Google, and Meta wield surprising control over people's lives. Their leaders, such as Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, shape the way we interact with the world. And some theorists argue that this influence could be a tool in the Antichrist's hands to dominate the masses. The advancement of artificial intelligence and the creation of immersive virtual realities also raise new questions. Could the Antichrist manifest in a non-human form, such as an artificial intelligence that takes over global systems, controlling finance, information, and even people's consciousness? Developments in AI are rapidly surpassing what we once considered possible, and the scenario of humanity being governed by a digital entity doesn't seem so distant. Moreover, the control of information and the large-scale dissemination of fake news create an environment where truth is relative and manipulable. Those who control the narratives control the world, and the Antichrist, according to prophecies, will be a master of deception. Could social media platforms and the algorithms that determine what we see and hear be the tools that allow the Antichrist to take control? As theorists debate who or what the Antichrist might be, one thing is certain: the world is changing rapidly, and biblical prophecies continue to resonate with surprising force. The signs described in the scriptures, wars, natural disasters, moral decay, and apostasy, are present in our current reality. According to the Bible, the Antichrist will emerge in times of great tribulation, and many believe these times are already upon us. The threat of a third world war, the increase in natural disasters such as fires, floods, and earthquakes, and the growing political and social polarization are just a few of the signs that something greater is coming. We are on the brink of a new era, and the Antichrist could very well be the figure who brings about the final chaos before the judgment. As we contemplate these possibilities, it is crucial to remain vigilant and question the events around us. Who are the true powers behind the thrones? What agendas are being followed? And above all, are we prepared to recognize the Antichrist when he reveals himself? Before we continue our exploration of these profound questions, remember to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share this content with your friends and family. Together we can unravel the mysteries of the modern world and prepare for what's to come. Don't forget to activate the notification bell to receive updates on upcoming videos and not miss any details of this fascinating journey. Throughout history, powerful and enigmatic figures have been associated with the Antichrist. From Roman emperors to more recent leaders such as Adolf Hitler, many have been considered candidates for this role. But what if the true Antichrist is still to be revealed, waiting for the perfect moment to emerge from the shadows? With globalization and interconnectedness, never before has the world been so prepared for the arrival of a global leader, someone who could influence all nations and unify ideologies under a single banner. Looking at recent events, such as the global pandemic, which caused a drastic transformation in our lives and opened the door for new social and economic rules, it is clear that humanity is approaching a turning point. Could the Antichrist use a global crisis like this to present himself as the savior, offering seemingly perfect solutions that, in reality, lead to domination and loss of freedom? The pandemic also highlighted the growing dependence on technology and government control. Surveillance systems, vaccine passports, and the increasing power of big tech companies have created a scenario where individual freedom is constantly threatened. This control, often disguised as security and protection measures, could be the gateway to a totalitarian regime led by the Antichrist. In recent years, we have also witnessed the resurgence of nationalist and authoritarian movements in various parts of the world, from Europe to Asia and the Americas. These movements, which promise to restore the greatness of their nations, often appeal to fear and division, creating external and internal enemies. The Antichrist, as described in the Bible, will be a master at creating divisions and manipulating the masses. He will use fear and chaos as tools to consolidate his power. However, the Bible also teaches us that the Antichrist will not act alone. He will have a false prophet by his side, someone who will promote his worship and consolidate his influence. Who could this figure be in our times? A powerful religious leader, or perhaps a digital influencer with millions of followers, capable of shaping opinions and directing the actions of millions? With the rise of spiritual leaders who blend religion with politics and technology, it is not difficult to imagine how the false prophet could manifest. The mark of the beast, one of the most iconic symbols of Revelation, also raises intriguing questions in the modern context. With the advancement of microchip technology and the increasing digitization of economies, it is plausible that a mark or digital control system could be implemented to regulate financial transactions and personal identification. Are we nearing the literal fulfillment of this prophecy? As we delve into these issues, it is essential to remember that biblical prophecies were written to alert us but also to prepare us. We should not fear the future, but rather remain vigilant and informed. The arrival of the Antichrist, according to the scriptures, will be a period of great tribulation, but also of hope for those who remain faithful. The narrative about the Antichrist is rich in mysteries and symbolism, and the current world offers many clues that make us reflect on the fulfillment of these prophecies. We are living in an era of rapid changes and uncertainties, where what once seemed distant now becomes frighteningly possible. The key to understanding the times we live in lies in the combination of spiritual vigilance and critical analysis of global events. This is just the beginning of our journey to uncover the secrets of possible antichrists and their connections to current events. Stay connected, as in the coming minutes, we will dive even deeper into this enigma, exploring theories that point to specific figures, analyzing the scriptures for answers, and drawing parallels between what was prophesied and what is happening around us. Prepare yourself, as the revelations to come may forever change the way you see the world. Throughout history, many leaders and prominent figures have been targets of speculation as possible antichrists. However, few periods in history resemble what we are experiencing today, where the line between good and evil seems increasingly thin, and figures of power become more and more enigmatic. Another global leader sparking speculation is Xi Jinping, President of China, a country that has become an economic and military superpower. Under his command, China has expanded its influence through the Belt and Road Initiative, an ambitious infrastructure project aimed at connecting the world under Chinese leadership. Xi Jinping is often described as a charismatic yet authoritarian leader who has consolidated his power internally, eliminating opponents and promoting an ideology that places the Chinese Communist Party at the center of his people's lives. Could he be the global leader who unites nations under a false peace, only to later reveal his true nature? In the West, figures like Donald Trump, former President of the United States, have also been targets of speculation. Trump, with his controversial and polarizing style, divided American society and left a legacy of political and social turmoil. His rise to power was seen by many as a sign of the times, and his America First rhetoric echoes the sentiments of heightened nationalism that could be exploited by a malevolent leader. Although he is currently out of office, Trump's impact on global politics and his continued support among millions of Americans suggest that he could still play a significant role in the future. Meanwhile, figures like Emmanuel Macron, President of France, are viewed by some as unlikely but potential candidates for the role of Antichrist. Macron, a fervent advocate of European integration and multilateralism, has positioned himself as a global leader on issues such as climate change and international security. However, his domestic popularity has been unstable, and his ability to unite Europe under his leadership continues to be tested. Some theorists suggest that a leader with the capability to unite Europe could become a key figure on the global stage, paving the way for the Antichrist's dominance. In addition to political leaders, there are also religious and spiritual figures that spark speculation. Pope Francis, the leader of the Catholic Church, is a controversial figure for some, particularly due to his progressive stances on issues such as climate change, immigration, and social justice. While the Pope is seen by many as an advocate for the oppressed and a moral voice in the world, his detractors point to the risk of him being used as a tool to advance the Antichrist's agenda, especially at a time when the Catholic Church faces internal crisis and declining influence. Other religious figures, such as televangelists and megachurch leaders, are also mentioned in theories about the Antichrist. With millions of followers worldwide, these leaders have significant influence over public opinion and are capable of mobilizing large groups of people. The danger, according to some theorists, is that one of these leaders could ally with the Antichrist or be the false prophet described in the Bible, promoting the worship of a figure that represents absolute evil. In addition to political and religious leaders, economic and technological elites are also frequently cited in discussions about the Antichrist. Billionaires like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, with their vast fortunes and control over companies shaping the future of humanity, are seen by some as potential agents of the Antichrist. Musk's ability to influence the development of technologies such as artificial intelligence, neurotechnology, and space travel, combined with Zuckerberg's vision of a metaverse where physical and digital realities merge, raises questions about control and manipulation of the masses. Could the Antichrist manifest through these new technologies, using them to exercise unprecedented control over humanity? The idea that the Antichrist could emerge from a technological context gains traction as society becomes increasingly dependent on technology. The development of advanced artificial intelligence, the proliferation of surveillance devices, and the creation of immersive virtual realities create a scenario where control over human thought and behavior could be achieved on an unprecedented scale. The rise of a leader who uses these technologies to control the economy, communication, and even the consciousness of people could very well fit the biblical description of the Antichrist. The current global scenario is also marked by extreme natural events and disasters that echo the plagues and calamities described in the book of Revelation. From devastating fires to floods, earthquakes, and pandemics, the world seems at the mercy of forces beyond human control. These disasters, which many view as signs of the end times, could serve as catalysts for the Antichrist's rise, who would present himself as the ultimate solution to humanity's problems. The growing political and social polarization around the world also creates fertile ground for the emergence of the Antichrist. As people become more divided and distrustful of one another, the search for a strong leader who can restore order and unity becomes more urgent. However, this desire for stability could be exploited by someone with malevolent intentions who takes advantage of fear and despair to consolidate their power. It is important to remember that, according to the scriptures, the Antichrist will not emerge in an obvious manner. He will be a master of deception, someone who presents himself as a savior but actually has malevolent intentions. His charisma and ability to manipulate the masses will make him an extremely dangerous figure, capable of seducing even the most skeptical. As we advance in this journey to uncover possible antichrists, it is crucial to maintain a critical and informed perspective. We must stay alert to the signs of the times and the actions of those in positions of power and influence. The Bible warns us that the Antichrist will come in times of great tribulation, but it also reminds us that those who remain faithful will be able to resist his rule. As we explore theories, worries, and current events, it is essential not to lose sight of hope and faith. The Antichrist may be a frightening figure, but the scriptures also assure us that he will ultimately be defeated and that justice and truth will prevail. With this in mind, we should continue our analysis, always seeking the truth and remaining steadfast in our convictions. We will continue to examine the clues, theories, and prominent figures that could align with the prophecies about the Antichrist. This is a path filled with mysteries and unanswered questions, but together we can shed light on the shadows and seek the hidden truth within the pages of history and the present. As we explore the current scenario and possible figures that could align with the Antichrist prophecies, it is essential to consider the global dynamics and emerging trends that may shape the future. Globalization and technological advancements are creating an interconnected world where the actions of one nation can have immediate and profound repercussions across the planet. This intertwining of nations and the increasing dependence on technology provide fertile ground for the rise of a global leader who could manipulate and control with unprecedented effectiveness. A crucial aspect of the Antichrist debate is the role of international organizations and global agreements. Entities like the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank have significant influence over the economic and social policies of countries around the world. As these institutions seek to implement solutions for global issues such as climate change and economic crisis, there is a risk that their growing authority could be used to establish centralized control. Some theorists suggest that an Antichrist could exploit these institutions to consolidate power and manipulate economic and political systems for his own benefit. Additionally, the recent environmental crises and natural disasters, which seem to be increasing in frequency and intensity, are often interpreted as signs of the end times. The devastation caused by wildfires, floods, and extreme storms can be seen as part of a pattern of events that precede the arrival of the Antichrist. These disasters not only cause immediate suffering but also create an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty, making it easier for charismatic leaders to present themselves as saviors during times of crisis. Recent Olympics and international events have also been scrutinized critically. These events, which celebrate global unity through sports, often reflect underlying tensions between nations and political interests. In some circles, it is argued that these events may be used to divert attention from the real issues affecting the world, and at the same time, promote a global agenda that could set the stage for an authoritarian future government. The ability of a leader to use popular appeal and international platforms to advance their own agendas should not be underestimated. The concept of an Antichrist emerging amidst crisis and using technology for their own benefit is increasingly relevant. With the rise of social media, artificial intelligence, and mass surveillance, there is significant potential for a leader to use these tools to manipulate public opinion and control the global narrative. The ability to monitor and influence people's behavior on a global scale is a power that, in the wrong hands, could become an oppressive and tyrannical force. The Book of Revelation describes the Antichrist as someone who will form alliances with nations and leaders, promising peace and prosperity, while secretly working to subvert divine laws and establish his own rule. It is in this context that today's political and economic alliances should be observed carefully. International treaties and agreements that promise global cooperation and prosperity may, in fact, be steps towards centralizing power and diminishing national sovereignty, creating an environment where an Antichrist could easily consolidate control. As we examine current figures and global events, it is crucial to remember that the description of the Antichrist in the Bible is not limited to a single person or nation. Instead, the scriptures suggest that the Antichrist will be a system of oppression manifesting through various leaders and institutions. The idea is that, rather than a single individual, the influence of the Antichrist may be seen in a complex network of leaders and events, collaborating to establish an oppressive global regime. Therefore, when considering the possible manifestations of the Antichrist, we must remain vigilant for trends indicating increased centralization of power and a reduction in individual freedoms. We should observe how leaders and institutions are manipulating events and creating an environment that could facilitate the rise of an authoritarian global government. Vigilance and discernment are essential for understanding how current events may align with biblical prophecies and how we can respond with faith and wisdom. Finally, it is important to remember that while the concept of the Antichrist may seem frightening, the Bible also provides us with the hope that truth and justice will ultimately prevail. Even in times of great tribulation, faith and trust in God are our greatest allies. The promise that the Antichrist will be defeated and that justice will be restored gives us hope and encourages us to remain steadfast in our beliefs and to seek the truth amid the darkness. Throughout history, the spirit of the Antichrist has manifested in various forms, adapting to the political and social contexts of each era. This leads us to reflect on how current global trends, such as increasing centralization of power, loss of privacy, and the disproportionate influence of certain individuals or groups, may be signs of this system in action. The narrative of the Antichrist is complex and multifaceted, and interpreting biblical prophecies in light of current events requires caution and discernment. The political, religious, and technological figures dominating today's global stage are merely pieces of a larger puzzle. While some may be tempted to point directly to these figures as incarnations of the Antichrist, it is more likely that they represent symptoms of a broader system of deception and control. Therefore, the challenge for those seeking to understand the role of the Antichrist in modern times is to remain vigilant and informed, without succumbing to fear or unfounded speculation. The true Antichrist, if and when he appears, will be recognized not only by his charisma and power, but by the devastating impact of his actions on humanity and divine creation. As we continue to explore this topic, we must remember that regardless of the specific figures or events that may seem aligned with the prophecies, the central message of the Scriptures is one of hope and resilience. The Antichrist will ultimately be defeated, and those who maintain their faith will be rewarded. This analysis should lead us to a deeper reflection on the current state of the world, the forces at play, and the role each of us plays in the struggle between good and evil. It is a call to remain alert, seek the truth, and be prepared, both spiritually and intellectually, to face the challenges that lie ahead. This ongoing vigilance, coupled with a critical and informed analysis of global events, is key to understanding the true meaning of the prophecies about the Antichrist and their relevance to contemporary times.